Hello, my name is Instructor Charles Hepburn II. I've been training in and teaching highly effective self-defense for over 30 years, and I'm on a mission to empower people to prevail over violence, so rather than dying as victims, they live stronger as prevailers. Although the physical hands-on techniques portion of the self-defense system I teach is best left for students in a real classroom with a live instructor, the intellectual or academic subjects I talk about are able to be captured through the means of audio recording. I've tried to capture these lessons or talks in the best, highest quality way I could. However, I'm not a professional sound engineer, so please forgive some of the recording quality flaws. I hope you can look past them and learn from the lecture as it was intended. The self-defense system that I specifically teach is called Metamudo. However, any good self-defense program in the world will cover these fundamental things I talk about. They may use different words or names, but fundamentally, I believe you'll find that they're talking about the same thing I'm talking about. So look for schools that cover these subjects. Metamudo is a combination of Taekwondo for moving and striking, Hapkido for stand-up struggling and weapon defense, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for on-the-ground grappling or wrestling. It also incorporates adrenal stress self-defense training using an armored assailant, which allows us to train to be able to function under extreme stress. Those three martial arts, plus adrenal self-defense training, plus criminology and street smarts, all put together constitute the self-defense system Metamudo. Now I'm going to drop you into a recording of a lesson I gave recently to one of my classes. They really enjoyed it, and I think you'll find it illuminating too. This is lesson 1 on violence, and this is part A. There's 6 parts of talks, and then there's a review and a quiz. Part A is called Self-Defense Training is Vital. Self-defense training is vital. Number 1. 10-minute island. So everyone, close your eyes and imagine an island somewhere. It's a very small island and it's surrounded by water. And on this island is 10 hungry tigers, right? On this very small island. And we're going to take you to that island and we're going to drop you off on that island. And you're going to be there with those 10 hungry tigers on that small island. Now you might be concerned that on this island, there's these 10 hungry tigers and you're the only source of meat on the entire island. But don't worry. What we've done is we put a collar on each one of the tigers so that way if you hit a button, then they collapse and they go to sleep. However, there's only one flaw. The flaw is, after you hit the button, it takes 10 minutes for the collars to work. Raise your hand if you would like to go to the island. You would like to go? Okay, very brave. Very brave. Somebody has to feed the tigers, and he took one for the team. Very good. That wouldn't be very smart, would it? If they had the collars, it took 10 minutes for them to work. About how long does it take for the police to arrive on your location and come to your place in the building? About how long does it take ordinarily? Let's see, yes. 10 minutes, that's right. And that's a good time. Okay, let's put that to the test. We're going to see how much violence can happen in 10 minutes. Here's a timer for 10 minutes. I'm going to start it. Everyone see it counting down? Because you are children, I will hold it backwards. Boom, 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 boom. I don't see anybody else readily, but they're certainly welcome to come get killed. Don't worry, the police will be here in about 9 minutes. You are on a 10-minute island. You are stranded on an island, and the nearest help is 8 minutes and 30 seconds away. How many people did I just murder in a minute? If I wasn't such a good guy, and I came in here and that was real, by the way, that's a fake airsoft gun. It shoots little rubber pellets. Now, before I even brought that in here to use as a prop to illustrate how vulnerable people are, I checked with Ali, and I made sure that he knew it was a prop. Because that's just bad taste to do something like that today when this kind of violence is going on, right? If I hadn't have done that. So now you can clearly see, we're going to keep this going, by the way, and see how long. You can clearly see that someone can do an enormous amount of violence in the 10 minutes it takes for the police to arrive. So the point of this section is that you are on an island and help is 10 minutes away. So if you're on this island and your nearest help is 10 minutes away, then what is the logical thing to do? If you're on an island, got these tigers, yes, you're going to have to inflict some injuries if you're going to survive. And plus you have to eat anyway, right, on the island. So you would start to look for a stick to sharpen or something like a big branch or something to hold as maybe a shield to keep them away, right? And a stick to stab. You would improvise. You would find a way to protect yourself on that island. Number 2, apologies to kids. Now, kids, I am so sorry. This world has failed you. We have failed you as adults. You're in this world, you're inheriting this world, and the adults have made a big mess of the whole planet. We like to fight and kill, have wars. This is the kind of problems that you guys are inheriting as you grow up and you become the adults of the world. I'm sorry, we have not found a way to solve this problem yet, this violence problem. Our best effort seems to be the police will come save us. And we can just illustrate right there that that would never work. So my apologies to the kids because this world has violence in it. We should have solved this by now for you. I am so sorry. I have to teach you kids about stuff like this. You guys are kids. You should be enjoying growing up. But instead, I have to come in here and I have to teach y'all how to be safe from this thing we call violence. And we shouldn't really have a world like that. And it's our failings as adults that you're inheriting this problem from us. I'm going to show you the way in which we can solve it. Epochs of violence. So, you know, in the history of humans being on this planet, we've had a lot of time periods where humans were more primitive or savage than we are now, like back in caveman days and back in medieval times even, right? So violence has existed throughout all the epochs of human history, of all living nature. Violence moves from epoch to epoch, and it's a part of all of living things. Plants, animals, even bacteria have self-defense mechanisms. If you're a living object, you're probably, most of the time, chances are you have a built-in self-defense mechanism. I remember as a boy playing with a little lizard, and when you picked up the lizard by the tail, it had a defense mechanism where its tail would fall off, and it would run away, and you would be left holding a useless tail. I thought that was a cool little lizard. And so everything that lives has a way to protect its life. However, what's happened is you've grown up in a world where you've been taught, keep your hands to yourself. Don't hurt anybody. You're not supposed to fight. And that's great advice for 99% of the time. It's terrible advice for when your life is on the line. So we have to learn both to not be violent, but also we have to learn to be violent in the context of self-defense. All right, so that's epochs of violence. Now, we're talking about the tigers on that island, but really this course isn't about animals attacking humans. What is this course about? Animals or plants attacking humans? Aliens attacking humans? What is this course about? What do you think? Yes. Thank you. Yes. Humans attacking humans. So it's humans against humans, or human versus human, people versus people. And it's not wars and big upsurges and riots and big wars between countries and nuclear bombs going off and bombing from planes. This is the area of the military. That's what they cover. That's their area of violence. What kind of violence, and hint, the answer's on the board. What kind of violence are we talking about? Not country versus country in a big military battle. What do you think? Yes? Interpersonal. Wow, it's like you knew. You're very smart. Very good. Interpersonal, that's right. Interpersonal human violence is what we're focused on here. So if you're fighting insurgents in Somalia, then you have a different job and you're going to have a different set of instruction to follow, okay? So this is for person versus person, and interpersonal meaning, hey, knife to your gut, give me your wallet. That's interpersonal violence. By the way, the police will be here in 1 minute. Their police will fill out the paperwork later. I have a quote for you. And this one, you guys probably have no idea who this guy is, but this guy is Roman Polanski. And he has this quote. He says, "You have to show violence the way it is. If you don't show it realistically, then that's immoral and harmful. If you don't upset people, then that's obscenity." So what if I was to tell you about this island with the tigers, but I told you all the tigers were very friendly tigers that you would typically see on, say, a kid's cartoon show, right? Very friendly, fatherly tigers. They would never hurt you. And then you get there, police are here. I'm shot. They'll fill out paperwork. Everyone see how long it takes? So it means that if I was to tell you that and take you to that island and you were expecting all these cuddly tigers, guess what you would have? A big wake-up call. Because those tigers are not cuddly and not friendly. So if I taught you the wrong way, and then you had to defend yourself, then I'm the one that did the harm, just as much as the tiger, because I gave you a bad picture of what to expect. You didn't know you were going to have to fight for your life. If I taught you self-defense, and I sugar-coated everything, and I toned everything down, and I didn't use the real words, then you would go out to face violence in your life. Someone would attack you, and you would be blindsided, just like somebody on that island with that tiger. They would go up, "Hey, Mr. Tiger, good to meet you." And what? That tiger's saying dinner, right? And they don't mess around, okay? So you have to show violence the way it is. If you don't show it realistically, then that's immoral and harmful. If you don't upset people, then that's obscenity. So I use all the correct terms, including with kids. So you can see I do not dial things back for children, although I did flip the gun around just out of respect, okay? You can see if it was flipped towards you, that would have been more intimidating, correct? Okay. Let's talk about peaceable people. Peaceable people. I have a great little story here, and you guys probably have never seen this movie. This movie is from 1984, and it's called The Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay? Now, it's not necessarily for kids, because it's basically Arnold Schwarzenegger is a cyborg robot guy from the future. And he is trying to get the machines to win over the humans in the future, because it's humans versus machines. So the machines get this bright idea. They said, "Oh, I got it. We're going to take one of our cyborgs, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the killer robot, and we're going to send him back in time. And we're going to have him kill the mom of the main general guy running the entire human army. So that way, the main general was named John Connor. He wouldn't even be born, and he wouldn't be able to lead the army against the machines." Brilliant plan. So they send this Terminator back in time, And the humans in the future, they said, oh my gosh, we realize what they're doing. So they said, we can't let that robot, that Terminator, get to Sarah Connor, which was the mom of the general, right? So they send back a guy, a future soldier, a good guy, called Kyle Reese. He goes back in time, and his job is to protect Sarah Connor from this killer robot, this Terminator. Now, Sarah Connor, she don't know anything. She's just a waitress serving food. She's just a normal working person. She doesn't know any of this about future wars against humans and all this stuff. So she's just a normal human being. And at one point, they're running from the Terminator, and they run into a parking garage, and Kyle Reese, the future soldier hero, and Sarah Connor, they dodge into a car just to escape the Terminator looking for him out there. Sarah Connor's all out of breath, and she's scared. And she is telling Kyle Reese, she says, why don't we just go to the police? Why don't we just talk to this thing and explain the situation, and we can somehow work our way out of this? And Kyle Reese grabs her and turns her to her in the car and says this quote, listen and understand, that Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead. So now that was important for Sarah Connor to hear because she was a peaceable person. She had no idea about violence in her life. And she needed to hear that you can't reason with this thing. You can't cry to it and say, I'm a good person, don't hurt me. Because what is that Terminator going to do? You think it cares? It's going to come right at you and take you out and complete its mission. So don't think you can plead and cry your way out. Because that criminal, it's not a Terminator after you, but it would be a criminal or assailant. It's going to have that same heart of steel. Let's say the world was filled with water. In fact, there was no land. Everything was on ships and barges, and there was no solid land anywhere on the planet. We're on a water world. Let's say you grew up in this water world, and everybody lived in the water world, and your parents, they had you, and you grew up, and they decided, you know what? I'm not going to teach this person how to swim. I'm not going to teach this kid how to swim. I'm not going to give him swimming lessons or anything like that. Now, what would you say to that parent? How dare you? Yes, very good. Right, you live in a water world, and yet you cannot swim, and you did not take swimming lessons? Now, if something happens to that kid drowns, who's at fault? Probably I would say the parents primarily, right? I would say because those parents should have, well, it depends. If it was an accident, if somebody threw him in the water on purpose, then it would be that person's fault, right? But if it was an accident, then you got to point fingers to the parents. You knew you were living in a world full of water, and you didn't teach your kids how to swim. However, it's not water we're submerged in. It's violence. We live in a world submerged in violence. And you're not going to teach your kids self-defense? Did everyone see that parallel? You understand what I'm saying? It's so obvious why we make such good victims. Because we don't know how to swim when we're submerged in an ocean of violence. Let's talk about first responders. I want to first say, pun intended, that I have the utmost respect for police, and firefighters, and paramedics, military, and everybody you would consider currently a first responder. However, with that being said, they are not first responders. They absolutely are not first responders. They are second responders. They just got here 5 minutes ago. You saw how long it took. They are not first responders. Who is the first responder? You are the first responder. And if you don't believe that, that very thought is the problem. You have the mindset of someone will come save me. And that's the mindset of a victim. You are the first responder. They are second responders. I will call them emergency responders. That's fine, but they are not first. Now, importance of self-defense training. Raise your hand and tell me, why is it important to learn self-defense? Go ahead. Thank you, to defend yourself from violence. What were you going to say, James? Same thing, defend yourself from violence, right? Self-defense is important. You know why? Bottom line, here's why. Everyone take your finger like this. Put it up your nose. No, not in your nose. Point at you. Because you are important. Self-defense is important because you are important. You are worth defending. You are worth protecting. You are valuable. You have unlimited potential. You are the treasure of the world. And if someone was to come along and try to take you off this planet by taking your life, you have every right to defend yourself and to inflict injuries if that's the only way to become safe. So next time, we're going to talk about all the different types of violence, all the different kinds of violence that you can have in the world. That concludes Part A, Self-Defense Training is Vital. Part B is entitled Violence Typologies, and that is the second talk in the first lesson on violence. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen. It's been my pleasure to be your instructor today. Remember, a criminal could pick you as their target, but it's up to you if you'll be the victim.